Like, as we've spoken a bit about on the pod, how I've wanted to push myself more into the ultra world, this is a really good way to put my name out there. Like, okay, I'm an ultra athlete now, and let's see where it can take me.
It was actually my first London Marathon. I had my iPod set up, got to about mile 10 and my iPod broke. Best thing that happened. I had so much better time in that last 16 miles because I could enjoy the atmosphere and I heard everyone cheering and like, you just get swept up in it. There was some actual study done where if athletes hit 70% of their training, then they achieve their goal. Which actually, when you think about it, you can miss 30% and still achieve your goal.
Yeah, very much in this block where I'm wanting to make sure I recover well for my runs and like I'm going to be at the best on race day in terms of fueling. I've really been practicing it. And you need at least 60 grams of carbs an hour to like have enough energy in your muscles. And then that can go up to like 120 plus people are doing now, which I'm not at.
Crazy.
But the more you can take on, the more energy you're actually going to have. So welcome back to 5 Miles Easy. Continuing with the marathon series, today we will be answering all of your questions that you sent in on Instagram.
Yeah, Steph, we've had such a good response to this and I'm so excited to delve into these questions, which are fantastic, and also share the amazing stories we've had from our listeners about why they're doing the marathon. And when I was reading them through, I know London Marathon is super special, but it really just emphasised that, you know, people are doing this for such good causes. And I think for so many people running on that day, it will be so much more than just like running a marathon for a time or a goal. Like, it means so much, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I really like that people were so open with their stories as well, because it goes back to in our guest episodes where we ask people's why, it very much linked into that everyone has their own why. And actually, we've never really asked our audience what their whys are, and there's just so many different ones.
Yes, 100%. So we'll get onto that, but first of all, should we have a quick catch up on how training has been going? Because when this comes out, it will be 6 weeks to London for me, which is terrifying, but even more terrifying,
3 weeks
yeah, to Two Oceans for you.
Yeah.
And you have an
it'll
exciting
be 7 weeks
breaking news update.
So yeah, sorry, I interrupted you there, but yes, the breaking news update. It will also be 7 weeks until sorry, it just sounds so funny when I say it out loud, till I'm running 100k
For England.
For England. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is very exciting. Slightly terrifying because it is 4 weeks after Two Oceans. So it's going to be very much an experiment on recovery. But I think it'll be like a good test and just a very good opportunity experience just to see how I fare over a very long way.
I mean, within the space of 4 weeks, you are racing 150 kilometres.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, how is it going?
It's going well. I think I've been able to separate it because Two Oceans was always my priority. I was always racing that, and in my head, that's what I'm training for. I think what's quite good is I've obviously been given this amazing opportunity to race for England and do the 100k for the first time. And it's great that they believe in me to be on that team. But what's good is also, if I was just doing the 100k, I'd say my longest run in the build-up would probably be quite similar to the Two Oceans distance, which is 56k. And that's a month before. So it'd probably be similar timing to when I do my longest run. So I can kind of see that as a good thing. And then the 4 weeks between is very much not about getting fitter, because I don't need to be faster for 100k. It's very much recovering from Two Oceans and just like bringing my legs back to life so that I can run comfortably again. I don't need to be any faster. So I've kind of come to terms with that and like, okay, maybe it is doable. It might go terribly wrong, but you don't know till you try. And my coach very much is on board with the idea. So
yeah, and as you say, you know, you don't know till you try. And I think the fact that, as you said, if you were targeting the 100k just by itself, you would probably do a similar run to Two Oceans, maybe not like quite the same effort level.
Yeah, not as intense.
Yeah.
Because of the hills. I mean, last year afterwards, like that whole week afterwards, it's like I was just in a lot of pain. My quads, everything hurt. And I imagine that's going to be the same again, but that's why I have to like take that recovery so seriously.
Yeah, although you've got to also remember you've done another block for it. So your body will be more prepared for the hills than last time. But I'm excited. excited for you. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
An England best.
I know, it's great. And also it kind of like, as we've spoken a bit about on the pod, how I've wanted to kind of push myself more into the ultra world. This is a really good way to just kind of like put my name out there. Like, okay, I'm an ultra athlete now and let's see where it can take me.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Tell me a bit about the 100k.
Well, it's at a racing car track, which is a 5k loop. So I'll be doing 20 times 5k loops, which sounds hideous, but I'm seeing positives. Number one, fueling will be really, really good because you'll have a table at the same place every single lap. And then you know you're going to be able to like get your drink, get your gels, whatever. Also the support, because there'll be people there and at least like then they can spread themselves around 5k, or like they're going to be the same people every time you go through at a certain point. So I think that's going to be quite good. And then also like just breaking it down. Yeah. I think sometimes when you know, I do love like one big loop. I think that can be really cool when it's like for Two Oceans because it's a really nice to look at. But sometimes you think, God, that's like, I've got to get around that whole lap till I finish. Whereas I guess at least every time you can kind of just break it down a little bit so it doesn't seem so far.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I actually don't mind the loops.
Yeah.
I think for that reason it breaks it down.
Yeah.
I mean, instantly in my head I was like, it's a bit like 2400s, but it's really not.
It's not going to be like that. Yeah, it's crazy that after I've done 10, I will have run 50k, and that's halfway. That's what is like, I can't really get my head around. And also I have no idea about pacing. This is all going to be such a test. Like, I don't know what pace to start at. Like, because I've never done it before, like, what can I hold for that long?
Yeah, how are you going to work that out?
Yeah, because it will feel so slow. Especially in a race environment, the start will just feel slow because you have the adrenaline. But I don't know. I think, like, I'm going to look at previous finishing times and, like, not go for the best one, but, like, see kind of what's the averagely good time, and hopefully I can sit around there.
Yeah. Okay,
it's
so
about 7.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I think under 8 hours is considered very good. And the European record, which was broken last year, it was like 7 hours, 3 minutes, but that was very fast. I don't think that's something to aim for yet.
So what is that pace?
So the record, that 7 hours and a few minutes was like 6:45.
Oh my God.
That's
really
really
fast.
fast. Like 7-minute pace, I think, is towards like 7.5, maybe it's just over 7-minute miling, it's like 7.5 hours. But that's still fast.
That's really fast.
Like for that, imagine holding 7-minute miling for 7.5 hours. It's like, that's hard.
Yeah.
But obviously the first like 2 hours, you're probably like, this is so easy. But then it starts, it's the time on feet. Like you just
if you think about even, I mean, long runs, like I think we both probably do our long runs a bit quicker than that. But a 7-minute mile long run, I would definitely be feeling a bit tired by the end.
Yeah, you have to like concentrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not scare you too much.
No, but as I said, because all my focus, well, not all my focus, but my main focus is Two Oceans, I'm actually not too scared. I don't feel pressure with it.
Yes.
I'm like, just make the most of the opportunity. There's no pressure on me to like produce this amazing performance. Like, just give it my best shot and like learn from it.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'd go into that.
Do you have any fears about finishing it, or do you think you'll definitely finish it? It's just,
I haven't even thought about, I mean, hopefully I'll finish it. Yeah. I would only not finish it if I physically can't. And I guess there's loads of unknowns in that distance, like stomach issues, which I never get in races, like touch wood, but that's a long time.
8 hours. I mean,
fueling, like how does it work over that long? I feel like I'm really, one of the things for this block for Two Oceans, I've been so on top of fueling during runs, and like through all my long sessions, I'm like really like fueling every 5k, like really on it and trying to make sure I get loads in. I'm like, but I want to do the same for 100k, but that's so much.
That is, and I do
stomach.
feel like there's something different about, because with Two Oceans it's really early as well, isn't it? So what time will you finish it in times of the day? Like
at Two Oceans?
Yeah,
like 9 a.m.
Yeah, so you're not really going over a mealtime. I feel like if I'm ever running over lunchtime, like it's a whole different picture.
Yeah.
I get so hungry.
Yeah.
And it's like not even a bit just energy depleted. It's like, no, I'm actually hungry.
Yeah, so your stomach's actually rambling. Yeah, that's a good point. I've not thought of that. Yeah, I've got lots to learn.
Okay, well, not that long to go to it, but...
Nope, but we will see.
What an exciting news break.
Yeah, well, we can do a post 100k debrief.
153K.
156K.
156K debrief.
Yeah. Woo. Okay, let's go on to you. So marathon training.
Yes, considerably shorter distance. I've just got the 42 to do, which, to be quite frank, seems like a breeze.
Well, but
to
much
you.
faster. So yes,
We
it's all
hope.
relative. Yes. How's it going? Because as you said, when this comes out, 6 weeks to go.
It will be 6 weeks to
What
go.
will your main focuses be in the last 6 weeks of training?
I normally break it down. If I've got that 6 week block, it will really be about the 6 to 2 weeks to go will look very different, and then we're going into taper.
Yeah.
So 6 to 2 weeks will be, well, really 6 to 3 weeks. That 3 week block will be my biggest sessions, and then it will start to get a bit more tame, and then we'll go into taper. So that 3 week block, I think there are a few things I'll be focusing on. They will be my biggest sessions, and actually I love those ones. They're the ones that I feel like those are the ones that I look back in training and I'm like, I'm really proud of them, and B, it's like the opportunity to really challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when you really see what you're made of, because you can go into the hole and get out of it. And some of them, they don't all go well. And I think that's the other thing. You can't expect every session to be amazing at that stage. And I remember even when it has gone really well at that stage in the block, there have been sessions where I've completely bombed out of them. Yeah. Thankfully, it's not normally my long ones. Those are my forte.
Yeah.
It's my faster sessions, or like my fast tempo ones where my legs just don't turn up.
I can very much relate to that, actually. But I also find in those really long ones, you kind of go on this personal journey on your own.
Yes.
It's like a whole, like, these 2.5 hours of, like, I don't know, there's just so much goes on in that time. And you go to some dark places, but also then it's suddenly like, I feel great. And you're like, I love this. And then like a minute later, I'm like, oh my God, I hate it. And it's like getting through that just to get to the end.
And that's why I think they're so good, because that is the marathon.
Yeah.
And I don't really get that in my shorter sessions during the week when I've got like 8-9 miles of volume, but it's reps. I think because it's reps, you don't really like go through the same roller coaster. But the reality is in the marathon, like you're going to have bad patches.
Yeah.
And it's about like realizing it's just a bad patch and you can get out of it, and working out how to get yourself out of it.
And then on race day, you can go back to those sessions in your mind and be like, I did it then, I can do it now.
So it'll be good. I'll be in America.
Yes. What are you doing there?
I am going on, back out for another training camp. And so my coach is based out in America, so going out there to spend a bit of time in person, which is always better, and with the Puma team too.
Yeah, great.
So it'll be a good little 6 week block out there. Hopefully have some good weather and just really get my head down, I think, for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think it's good timing where you're kind of all other distractions from home are kind of gone when you're there, so you can just focus on training?
Yes, definitely. I think especially being in London, around London Marathon, is a little chaotic sometimes. Part of me wants to absorb all the hype and the excitement, but it's probably better for me to get out of it and just head down, really focus on recovery, because that's the other thing in that window where I'm doing my biggest sessions. That's when recovery is so important.
Yeah.
And then I'll be back for taper and the work is done.
So how long before London Marathon will you be back?
Just over 2 weeks before.
Okay, nice. So you're just going to hide away for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Because there'll be a lot of stuff going on. Because you say the hype is going on at the moment, but it'll be even bigger then.
Oh, yeah. And it won't be hype. It will be surrounded by paranoia at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh. Okay, so on the hype of London Marathon, we've got a lot of our audience are doing London Marathon and other marathons in spring. So shall we answer some of their questions?
Let's do it. So the first one we've got is from Bethan, who says, any tips on not comparing yourself to others? Balancing running a business and running can be tricky, but sometimes I find social media doesn't show the actual reality of it, which is so true. Oh my gosh, I think Bethan, you just hit the nail on the head that like social media, don't get me wrong, it's great for a lot of things. I mean, restaurant recommendations, nail inspiration, what else is my feed filled with? But it does definitely show the highlights,
which can also be good in terms of like motivating yourself sometimes, but when you feel like you're questioning what you're doing because you're seeing all this good stuff, it's not helpful.
Yeah, 100%. And I even think about what I put on there. You know, I definitely don't do this to be unhelpful, but like, why would I put a reel of me sitting on the sofa? It's just boring, right? But I'll put up a reel of my session.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the time is actually quite boring and mundane recovery, which is really important. But it's not like I'm hammering sessions every day.
No, and also just like, I mean, recently we've been obviously doing sort of summarizing our weekly training or whatever, and it doesn't go into every detail of every run of how you felt. Like, there have been some runs where I just feel so tired and horrible, like, but you don't really go into that so much. You kind of are like, yeah, this was my training week and it can look really fun and like it went really well.
Exactly. And I think there's a really good rule of thumb that I can't remember who this came from, but it's like a third of your runs or workouts will be terrible, a third will be average, and a third will be good.
Yeah.
So that's actually 2/3 that are probably not going on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're just like, meh. Or
and
it's
that's
like,
not when you're going to take a photo
awful.
either. Are you like, oh, this is the worst run ever. Let's take a photo of it. Like, you don't think to do that.
So I think keeping that in mind is really helpful.
And then also, so she's balancing running a business with running. It's hard to find the balance. And I think it's just finding the routine that works for you, that you can stick at and be consistent, rather than trying to cram in everything into 1 week and then it lasts a week or two and then you don't do anything the week after because you're so tired. That's not sustainable. Finding the routine that you can stick to.
One thing that Aidan always says, our S&C coach who's been on the podcast numerous times, is think about your cumulative load, including like all the load from life.
Yeah.
And it's really important to consider that. So if you've got a really big week in work, don't also have your biggest marathon session that's really important to you on that week.
Yeah, for sure. Because the mental fatigue as well just manifests physically and you're going to be drained. Very good. Okay, so the next question we have is from Bryony. What are your best mindset tips for tough spots? I feel like you've got some good ones here.
Yeah, as we said before, marathon training, especially long sessions, it is a roller coaster. I think just accepting that. And what I find really works for me is when I go into a rough spot, the key is recognizing it's just a rough patch. And it's almost like I feel it coming. I'm like, oh, great. Yep. We're in the rough patch.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I think it's not fighting it. Like, I don't bother thinking, oh my God, I've got to get out of it. But it's knowing that it's going to end. It's like, right, okay, just focus on something. And I focus on my arms, or I focus on like the surroundings or something to pull me out, to just distract me a bit.
Yeah.
Or normally it's just like, okay, think how lucky I am to be doing this.
Yeah.
Focus on the fact that it's fun, type B fun. And then you know it's going to end and you'll come out of it eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I can think about this very recently. I did a very long session this morning and I definitely had patches. Like towards the end, it was so long and I thought, oh God, I just want to, maybe I could just stop now. Like that would be, and then I'm like, obviously I'm not going to do that. Like why? I'm not going to cut it short. Like I'm going to get through it. And I was only thinking that because at that point I was just really tired. And just as you said, I really recognized, I was like, you know what, Steph, like it's just a bad patch. And I just focus on like, just chill out. Like it's fine. And also if you slow down a bit, oh, what's going to happen? Like it's fine. Like, you know, you're going to get through it. And as soon as I told myself, just relax, like mentally and physically, I was like, okay, I'm actually fine. Like, don't panic. It's okay.
I think that's always the thing. You run best when you're happy and relaxed. So just find a way to be happy and relaxed. And if you go through a bit of a rough patch, like just relax through it.
100%.
And the likelihood is in a few miles, you'll be fine.
Distractions are key.
Okay, so from Chris, what's the most amount of marathon pace work or faster you'll include in your longest run of the block?
I really think it depends on what plan you're following and like what your coach sets, because I've definitely had different approaches to this.
Yeah, what do you do at the moment with Ultra? Because I guess it's...
Oh, yeah, no, with Ultra, I think it's different. I do think it's different to marathons where, because for Two Oceans as well, because it's hilly, I'm not really doing pace specific because my longest runs are not flat. So I can't be fixated on like, let's aim for this as like the pace, because it's going to just change so much whether I'm going down or up. But I think with marathons, what I've been doing recently is more like 5K, like, you know, you do 4x5K at marathon pace, or I can't remember the longest amount in one block that I've done recently. I don't know, there'll sometimes be like 10, we're doing like 6 miles or something, but not much longer than that. However, with prior coaches, I've actually gone up to like 18 miles at marathon pace at once. But I've not done that in the last few years.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. But I do think I think we should caveat this with it kind of changes if you're like at the faster end of marathons.
Yes.
Because if you're running a marathon that is actually more, the pace is more going to be like your kind of normal run pace, then it's going to look a bit different.
Yeah,
whereas
that's
like
really good.
my marathon pace is like very, very different to my easy run pace.
Yes, because you've got, when you're
You've
at the
got a
faster
higher
end, big
window.
range.
Yes. Yeah.
And it gets harder. I mean, anyone doing a marathon is amazing because it's such a long way to go. And actually, the longer it takes you to do a marathon, the more time on feet you have.
Yes.
And that's why, like, that gets very hard as well. Because if you're running 5 hours, you're running 5 hours. Like, that's double.
really
That's
long
more
time.
than double what you're running for a
Yeah.
marathon. You know, so that's what's the tiring part, more so than trying to like run really, really fast.
Yeah, exactly. So I and that's the difference, I think, is if you're at the slower end of the marathon, then it's just getting the time on feet.
Mm-hmm.
Runs and not actually worrying too much about pace, because that is going to be the hardest bit that you need to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're running like, you know, a lot faster, then it's got to be the pace that you're comfortable with sustaining. Yeah. But yeah, I'm the same as you. Like the longest I've actually done as at one single pace is probably 6 miles.
Yeah.
Although I I sometimes have like a multiple 6 miles without a rest, so I don't really know how that works.
Okay, yeah.
But it's just progressive, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are lots of different approaches. Some people find they need to have like 14, 15 miles at marathon pace.
Yeah, I guess like that can be a good confidence boost to know, okay, I can get that far. But also, if say you have a coach who you're following a plan and they are giving you those shorter blocks at marathon pace, trusting in that, because it does work. If you're only running like lots of blocks of 5K at marathon pace within a session, that means you can probably hold it for the whole marathon. You just have to trust that you can, and don't go into it thinking, oh my God, but I've not run like 21 miles at marathon pace.
Yeah.
You don't need to have done that.
100%. I think very good tips.
I'm Natasha.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Rose.
We're the co-founders of Boldly, a movement created to make running safer, stronger, and more connected, especially when it gets dark.
Did you know that 72% of women change how or when they exercise during winter due to safety concerns?
All three of us know what it's like to avoid dark routes, cut runs short, or skip runs altogether because we don't feel safe at this time of year.
Boldly is here to change that. From social runs to useful tools, Boldly is here to connect runners, make running safer all year round, and reclaim spaces that we lose.
Join us every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for our weekly social run in Putney, and all paces are welcome, so no one gets left behind.
And for even more connection, join our WhatsApp community. It's a space to chat, share tips, and meet more like-minded runners.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Boldly Run for details.
And sign up to boldlyrun.com for updates on our app, which is launching soon.
Because together, we can run safely.
Together, we run boldly.
Next one from Zoe. Oh, this is actually quite related to the last one. So, how to decide on goal marathon pace based on your training. I have a few key sessions I use as an indicator, but this is the first time I'm really not sure if the pace I'm training for is going to be achievable.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think you just answered it really well there. It's just look at your sessions and look at the sessions that have been marathon pace and like, how does it feel? I think if those 5K reps at marathon pace feel reasonably okay, and I'm going to say like, it's okay to feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I always think marathon pace should be like a bit comfortably uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? Because you think, how am I going to hold it? But actually remember, when you're training, you are a bit tired. That's the point. Your legs are a bit fatigued. So like sometimes when I've done marathon pace stuff, I'm like, what the hell? Like even 1 mile at this pace feels hard today. But I think it's, if you've done a marathon before and then you can probably go a bit faster than the one before, and it's kind of trusting that progress as well and testing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. If you look back at progress and then can compare sessions of it, that's really helpful. But again, like ask a coach, ask friends who are going for a similar time to you, and obviously try not to like get too much into the comparison, but it does help a bit to know.
Yeah.
If you're really struggling to gauge what pace you're doing, ask friends what they're doing.
Well, and it's so individual as well, because I was going to say, if you've done like a half marathon or a 10K, then you can kind of work out from there as well, like, okay, it's going to be a bit slower than those paces. But actually, there are some runners that don't have that top end speed, and their marathon pace is the same as like their 10K pace.
Yeah, mine.
So it's actually like, I don't know if that's great. It can be useful because like it's a good guide maybe, but actually you have to know your strengths in that sense.
Yeah, 100% know what kind of runner you are. But you're right, like especially half marathon is usually quite a good gauge. Okay, Steph, this question next question is definitely for you from a London runner. Any tips on running 2 marathons 2 weeks apart? Paris, then London. Right, hit us up.
Wow, okay, 2 weeks. I mean, that is very close together. But for this one, I would say pick which one you want to, if there's one that you're actually wanting to run well at. Because what I would say, 2 marathons 2 weeks apart, you're not going to be smashing PBs at both of them. And you don't want to, hopefully, you don't want to end up injured. So say London is the goal, then I would just enjoy Paris and not go too hard so that you're super fatigued, because it's going to be quite hard to recover if you were going.
I think it'd be harder that way round.
Yes.
I think almost go hell for leather in Paris.
I would prefer that as well. So I would rather go for it at Paris, and then you're going to be tired, but you will be able to physically get through another marathon 2 weeks later, but just enjoy London. I would rather that way too.
Yeah, and then what about in the 2 weeks in between?
What do you do? I would say take a few days off completely after the first one and don't worry about it, because you're not, realistically in 2 weeks, you're not going to lose any fitness or anything. You actually just want to make sure you recover. So take a few days off, and then just when you feel okay, just do a little bit of jogging to wake your legs up. And so that by London, you're not sore and you can physically run, you'll be able to run the marathon distance.
I think, yeah, totally. And I would also, I think nutrition is going to be so key.
Yeah.
Basically, everything you can do to recover better, get a massage, 100%. Probably in the week after London, leave it a few days because you have a lot of inflammation. So you need to let that settle down, then get a massage, and then you still got time to get your legs back under you. Yep, sleep.
Good sleep. And just eat loads, because your body will be depleted after the marathon.
Yes, carbs and protein.
There you go.
Simple.
Good luck.
Going to smash it. Georgia Herring, a marathon question. I've heard strides are important, but find my legs are often so tired during marathon training. So how important are strides, and are they still useful if you do them on their own or not after a run?
I think this is very much personal preference, in the same way that if you want to get a massage or you like stretching and stuff, what makes you feel good? I do strides as part of my drills before a session, just because it feels like it's kind of giving my legs a bit of something before I do the first rep, wakes them up, feels like I can be a bit bouncy. And then I'll also do strides before, the day before a race. So I'll have a short, easy run, and I'll do 5 or 6 strides at the end of the run. But other than that, I don't do strides at the end of random runs personally. I know people do, but I don't think they're, in terms of if you have to do them, it's not a game changer. I do just think it's what makes you feel good and ready to run fast.
Yeah, interesting. I do think I find speed work really helps me, and it's not in terms of fitness, but it's how my legs feel, whether that's strides or track sessions, a speed session, I feel so much better afterwards. It's really weird.
Interesting.
I think if I just did tempo marathon, I would find the pace so hard.
Yeah, but I do think strides are quite different to doing a interval speed session.
Yes, maybe, but if you're not doing any speed, if the strides are the speed work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you should definitely have the speed work in there as well, but it's just whether you do a few
extra strides
after a run.
Yeah. I quite like doing a few strides, personally.
My first stride is always very bad.
Yes, takes me a while to get into it.
Yeah.
But then the run I normally do as just part of my easy run, but I'll do my run, end at the track, do my drills and strides, then run back.
That. Oh yeah, that's
run
nice.
back is lovely.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. That's the same as I find after going to the gym. If I'm doing a run straight after the gym, I feel good. You'd think my legs would be really sore, but I think because I've activated everything, I'm I actually feel better than before.
Fired up.
If you're so tired and they don't make you feel good, then don't do them. But if they do, then great. This is one from Amy. Do you think anyone has the capability to run at an elite level / in the elite field if they put enough dedicated work in? It's so hard to train like a pro when you work full time.
This is so interesting. You know what? I would love to do an experiment with this.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool to see, because obviously, and this is coming from my own background, because before I started running properly, I don't think anyone would have looked at what I was doing and think, okay, you can be pro. But then I just wasn't doing the right things. And I wonder, there is obviously some genetics involved in it.
Yeah.
And there's probably a large percentage of the population who you could put in a full-time pro life and wouldn't break a 3-hour marathon. But having said that, I think there's probably quite a few people who would could make it if you gave them the right situation.
100%.
But you've also got to enjoy it. It's not for everyone.
No.
It's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of running.
Yeah.
And a lot of, you've really got to enjoy the training to do it full time.
Yeah, because, and also I do find like a lot of people, like say I went to full-time athlete, I wouldn't be doing more running because I actually like, I'm maxed out at the running side, but it's actually more than you've got a lot of time where you're recovering, because that's what's going to hopefully make you even better as well, and focusing on those like 1%. And for some people, actually, they need to be busy to like enjoy it as well. So it's whether all that free time is actually beneficial for you, which for a lot, I'm sure it would be. But yeah, like you said, I don't think it's for everyone, but I would say I do think it's very possible for someone working full time to make the elite start. There's a lot of examples of that.
Yeah,
where people
definitely.
do still work full time and they are in the elite field.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's so impressive, because
Yeah.
it's just like fitting it in between work. It's a recovery. I just don't know how. I mean, I used to do it, but I used to be really, really tired all the time.
Yeah, I think it's, you may be like, there's only so long you can
Yeah,
get away with it
yeah.
for. But the other thing that this makes me think of, which we have mentioned before, is like bridging that gap between if you're like quite good and you're working full time and you think, actually, I could make it if I didn't work, but actually it's such a risk, then, I'll just quit my job and I don't have a professional contract yet, so I'm not being paid. There is that gap in support, like from running brands, etc., where I almost feel like they should be helping people that definitely have the potential to like make it full-time pro athlete, but they can't take that risk.
Yeah, it's so true. It's just like there's not. I mean, in football, I'm sure it's very different because there's like so much money in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really taking that leap of faith. But yes, Amy, to answer your question, I 100% think that there are a lot of people who can make the elite field and work full time, but it is hard. And slightly linked to this question, we have one from Deirdre, who loves the pod. Thank you, Deirdre.
Thank you.
And works in a city law firm. So I'm training for a marathon and listen to music on my long runs. I want to run the marathon without music to soak up the atmosphere, but I am concerned that I've become accustomed to running with music. Would you recommend that I run the marathon without music? Okay, I used to be, I don't know if you knew me.
I didn't know you, but I remember you telling me about your...
I used to be this person, I couldn't run without music.
Yeah.
And this was back in the golden days of the iPod, which I used to carry around with my cabled earphones. I used to race with that, and you'd have to really nail like the cable down the sports bra thing to stop it being
tight.
Yes, but you had to get it the right tension so then you could run carrying your giant iPod.
Oh gosh.
Without like pulling your earphones out, and a whole skill which I have to say I nailed most of the time. But it was actually my first London marathon. I had my iPod set up and I had my playlist, which had to go in a very specific order. My iPod was large. I didn't go for the iPod shuffle. No. It was the full-blown size. And anyway, I got to about mile 10 and my iPod broke.
What? How?
I know. I don't know. It just like switched off. And I genuinely, like, I remember, I can still picture, like, the bit of London Marathon, this sweeping panic. I was like, I'm going to have to stop. I can't do 16 miles without my iPod. And then I was like, I quickly realised, like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't get to the end and be like, yeah, I pulled out because my iPod broke. So I realised I had to carry on. Best thing that happened. I had so much better time in that last 16 miles because I could enjoy the atmosphere and I heard everyone cheering, and like you just get swept up in it. And I think because I was so worried about the 16 miles without my playlist, I was like, right, I've really got to find some entertainment on the course. And there is so much entertainment on the course.
Oh, that is really funny. And I was just wondering, do they actually allow headphones now at London Marathon? I just know that a lot of races did change their rules. Like,
I think they do in the mass.
Okay, fair enough.
They don't in the lead. Now I can't imagine. I do most of my runs without music.
Yeah, same. And if I listen, I usually listen to podcasts if I'm listening to something just on an easy run. I don't really listen to music when I'm running. I can completely understand that when you rely on it and you feel like it helps you. But I do think soaking up the atmosphere is going to be a game changer as well. And also just not panicking. I feel like this is one of those examples of things, well, like with your story, where things can go unexpectedly, well, wrong, not necessarily wrong, but things can happen that you're not planning for, and actually being okay with it.
Yes. Yeah.
So not having to rely on everything that you think you need to have a good run.
And I do think as well, like, it's just completely different on race day.
Yeah.
But maybe try it in a long run. Do one long run without music, and if you can get through that, you'll 100% get through race day very easily, because it will feel a million times easier.
And maybe do a long run with a friend, because
Yes.
then at least even if you're not talking, like you have the company there, so it's not as, I don't know, sometimes I guess on your own it's a bit like, well, I need something to like sort of keep me company, whereas in a race you have company everywhere, so you're not going to need that.
True. I sometimes quite like it. It's quite weird, but I like it just
silent.
Yeah, if I'm by myself, it's almost a bit of a what's that thing called?
Raw dogging.
Yes. I quite like a bit of raw dogging on my long runs.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And sometimes what happens to me is I'll have my headphones on and I'm like ready to play something, and then I kind of never press play, and I realize I've got to the end of my run and I'm like, oh, I've just had silence the whole time, because you're just not in the mood for it, really.
Yeah, it irritates me sometimes.
Yeah, same. Sometimes there'll be a voice comes on a podcast and I'm like, no. I'll get really
Oh,
annoyed. Don't want to hear you.
There is another part to this question, which is, I started training for the marathon on a 19-week plan. 5 weeks went well, but I've missed my past 3 with an injury. I'm unsure whether to do the marathon knowing I won't be at my best, or save the effort for another event and not rush the recovery. So hard, because if it's the one that really means something to you, then...
And also I think it really depends is the injury fully better, because if it's a bit like not sure, then I wouldn't push it, because you don't want to make it worse again. But if you're fully recovered from the injury, I think it's just how much the race means to you, and if you don't mind kind of going in with lower expectations but still really enjoying the event.
Yeah, and it depends what's afterwards as well, because if there's a really good backup one that you're as excited about, then do that. But if it's like London you're in for and there's not that much afterwards, I don't know, I'll go for it if it's not going to make it a lot worse.
I'd write down some pros and cons of like reasons to do it, reasons not to do it, and then see what wins. But also remember, there are so many more races. Like, I know it can feel like a big deal that you've been training for this one, but like, I'm sure you've got years and years of opportunity to do that one again, and like there are so many other exciting events that you can do, so it's not everything.
And maybe it's just one to enjoy and lower expectations a bit and just go for a B goal.
But I hope your injury's better. Okay, slightly related to that actually, Emmy. Hi ladies, a question for the pod. I'm currently suffering with my second cold whilst marathon training. The first time I just had to miss one session, but this time I feel really rotten and I'm worried that I may have to miss some quality runs. What is the best way to approach illness when training? Currently chasing a sub-3 dream, so every run mentally counts. The most infuriating part is that I've gotten ill from running 20 miles in horrendous weather.
Top tip, go to Cape Town.
I can imagine this is quite a common thing, trailing through the winter.
Yes.
And there's a lot going around.
There really is.
I think we've said it before, kind of like that rule of thumb of if it's above the chest, then like, if you feel okay, like actually going for a run might make you feel a bit better, just clear your head. But if it's like chesty or like you've got a fever or something, just rest, because the worst thing you can do is like push through that and then make the illness last like way longer than it needs to.
Yes, don't go into a hole. And with just colds that aren't that bad, like easy running is generally okay. I think it's when you go into the sessions that, like, I definitely wouldn't do a hard long run session with a cold. Yeah. You're just going to put yourself back.
Yeah, exactly. And I know sub-3, that's absolutely amazing. And I know every session feels like, because I can totally relate, you think you have to tick off everything. But honestly, missing like a week of training is not going to change the outcome. In fact, you're probably more likely to achieve your goal if you just like miss a couple when you feel really terrible.
Aidan actually always reminds me of the 70% rule, that there was some actual study done where if athletes hit 70% of their training, and that's like their, the big sessions, then they achieve their goal. Which actually, when you think about it, you can miss 30% and still achieve your goal.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. And also another one is it's better to be a bit undertrained than overtrained.
Yes, that's definitely true. So I wouldn't stress about it and write yourself off yet. Just take a week. If you need a week off, take a week.
Yeah.
And then trust that you're really not going to lose that much. You'll just have fresh legs.
Exactly. Well, good luck though.
Okay, we have some nutrition questions.
My fave.
Breakfast. Pre-marathon breakfast. I mean, we're both oat girls, really, aren't we?
Absolutely. Krista has said porridge or bagel. I've tried both, but really, what's the best marathon brekkie? I mean, yeah, bagels are great. If you prefer them, very, very good source of carbs. But I never think of like, as in when I wake up, I wouldn't think, oh, I want a bagel. I always think
Yeah.
I want porridge.
Yeah, same. But I guess that's just habit, right?
Yeah, it's just definitely habit.
Yeah.
So yeah, porridge for me, but I think both are absolutely good options.
I've actually, you know what? The only thing if you're like traveling to a marathon anywhere, then porridge can sometimes be a bit like you don't know if you're going to get it the way you want it.
Oh, you mean like in a hotel?
Yeah, I'm quite particular with my
Oh,
porridge.
yeah. No,
Whereas a
that's quite
bagel is a
stressful.
bagel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe practice with both so you know that you're fine running on both, which I have not done. So maybe a good tip for me. But in my porridge, I like to add protein powder as well, just so I get a bit of protein with my carbs.
Nice.
And jam and blueberries and cinnamon.
Great combination.
So if anyone wants to try that, I'm sure it's quite common anyway.
I wish I could have prep porridge every day because I don't know how they do it, but it's absolutely
So
fantastic.
creamy.
So creamy.
Yeah.
This very linked question.
yeah.
Do you add protein supplement to your diet when you're training? Well, Steph puts it in a porridge, so there we go.
I do. What type? Whey protein? Yeah, whey protein. I think carbs are definitely like focus on carbs, but protein is very important as well because you need your muscles to repair. So I would say if you're training more than you used to, you probably need to up your protein intake as well as your carb intake. So if the easiest way to do that is with supplementing, then go for it.
Yeah, I do like a protein shake after hard sessions.
It's just easy to get in.
Yeah, all the goodness in it.
And I'm not someone that's going to be having like eggs and stuff for breakfast. So I think I've heard it's quite good to like spread it out throughout the day.
Yes.
So that's why I do it in my
I
porridge.
just eat copious amounts of milk and yogurt. So
oh gosh, yeah.
there we
I
go.
do also.
But yeah, I think I also go for whey protein. Mainly pea protein. Oh,
No.
so bad.
No.
No.
Okay. Evie has asked, how can I make sure I drink enough but don't need wee stops? I never had this issue before I had babies. Right, Evie. I think you should be listening to the episode with Emma Brockwell.
Yes.
Pelvic floor specialist.
Yes, Emma has so many great tips for this. Although, to be quite frank, I'm really not the person to ask about this because I'll go for a wee before I leave for my run. 1 mile in, desperate. Honestly, running is not good for the bladder. But Emma has some fantastic tips and we're both doing our pelvic floor exercises now. So listen to that. But I also think like drinking enough water is definitely the priority. So if you have to stop on your run for a bush wee stop, go for it. I have very little shame these days,
It's
quite honestly.
nature's toilet for runners.
Yeah.
And also in a race, like, I mean, depends on the race. I guess you have portaloos, but also enough people just like they manage to wet themselves whilst they run. I personally never done it.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do that.
I've not done it, but if you need to, no shame. Whatever's going to get you to the finish comfortably.
So there we go, Evie. Steph's tip is wet yourself. But also listen to Emma's episode.
Yes.
Hannah asks, what is the best form of energy to consume during the race? I've tried high 5 gels and they make me feel sick. Is jelly cubes or jelly babies sufficient to sustain you?
Oh, I feel quite passionately about this.
Far away.
I feel like over the years I've gained some good nutrition knowledge and very much in this block where I'm wanting to make sure I recover well for my runs and like I'm going to be at the best on race day in terms of fueling to have energy. I've really been practicing it. And this is not coming from me. This is nutritionist, like research says it, that you need at least 60 grams of carbs an hour to like basically have enough energy in your muscles to when you're running like over an hour plus. So, and then that can go up to like, if you can train it, like 120 plus people are doing now, which I'm not at.
Crazy.
But the more you can take on, the more energy you're actually going to have.
So just to put that into context, that's 3 gels an hour.
Yeah.
They're 20 grams each, roughly.
Yeah, depending. Some of like the
depending
beta fuel ones can be 40 grams each, which is great because then you don't need as many. But yeah, like you need way more than you think. And until you try it, you don't realize like the benefits that you feel, not just during the session because you have energy, but actually how you recover after those sessions. I find the better I feel during, actually I'm not as tired.
I'm
I say that
laughing
now because I'm so tired right now and I took 7 gels.
Oh my god. But think about how you'd be
if I didn't take
you wouldn't be doing
anything.
the pod. There we go.
There we are.
I'm laughing a bit because Charlie has recently discovered Morton gels.
Okay.
Because he's been training with me and absolutely smashing it, I have to say. But he's discovered fueling. And
wow.
Yes, wow, it's been a real breakthrough. He's like, oh my God, I can feel this gel. I can feel it working.
I know.
It's so funny.
It's so worth like just training yourself to be able to do it.
Yes.
Because it's not like, oh, it might work. It's literally science. Like, it's going to work. So I know some people do have trouble like taking on gels, but I would just say experiment with different types. Like, if you don't like the high five gels, Morton, SIS,
There's so many.
OTE, like there are
Yeah.
loads out there. Experiment.
There are
And
some that are like less flavoured as well, which might work. Because
Yeah.
I have to say, I struggled a bit with the really flavoured ones and taking a lot of them because I felt a bit sick. Or like try a natural one. 'Cause
Yeah.
that might also just
Yeah,
agree with you more.
Forte.
Yes.
And then on the question of is jelly cubes / jelly baby sufficient? Well, I have Googled this. So per 4 sweets, you have 21 grams of carbs. So that's basically 1 gel. So you're probably going to want at least like 15 sweets an hour to have minimum required
It's a lot of
dose.
chewing.
So if you want to do that, it can work, I'm sure. But it's just like, I don't want to be storing jelly babies like in my pockets or down
You're
my
also
sports
just
bra.
munching along for the whole hour.
Yeah, which, yeah, might be preference for some, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I think doesn't sound like a great plan with the jelly babies, but try the gels. There are so many out there as well, and it's just finding what works for you.
And if you can hold a drink with like a carb
Yeah.
mix in, that's a good way to like mix it up so you can have like a few gels and then have it to
Yes.
hydrate, but also have carbs in your drink. That's a good way to not have to have as many gels.
Very good tip. Right, I think we have cracked through those questions, which were fantastic. I'm sure lots of listeners find those super helpful in marathon build-up. So thank you for sending those in. Just to wrap up this marathon special, we have those listener stories. So should we read some of them out? Because they are lovely.
Meg has shared, the marathon will mark 2 years remission post my cancer diagnosis, and I'm running for Lymphoma Action, who helped me through my own journey. Very special moment for me. That is amazing that you are in 2 years remission.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to celebrate.
Yeah.
You can do a marathon. That is awesome.
And I believe that's her first marathon, so what an achievement as well.
It's going to be so good, Meg. And I think just enjoy every minute of it because it will go so quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have such an incredible why for doing it. So just soak it all up.
You've got this.
Bryony says she's running her first marathon for Victor UK, supporting blind children after my 7-year-old niece had sight-saving eye surgery. I'm pushing hard and aiming for sub 4. Incredible. And it's been my way of having space and taking care of my mental health after 2 babies and 2 C-section births, which have actually helped me become a better runner.
Bryony, you've been through a lot there, but that's so incredible how much running has helped you mentally and also helped you be a better runner, just to, I guess, have that escape. And what a good cause that you're running for.
Yeah, I'm sure your niece will be so proud watching you. That will be really special. So again, just have a great run.
Okay, and another story from Megan. Hi, my marathon story started in 2023. I had been messing about trying to get back into running at age 56. My dad had been a marathon 2 hour 26, wow, runner, and ultra runner, won Melbourne to Sydney back in the day, which inspired me. Wow, I want to enter
Bloody
that.
hell, that's a long way.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to look that one up. My son has epilepsy, and so when I saw that you could run for epilepsy charity for Manchester Marathon 2024, I signed up, followed a friend's training plan, and finished in 4 hours 36. I can do better and will be doing Manchester again in April. I've struggled with fueling but tried Velo Forte after listening to you both. That seems to be okay. So far, I'm training using their gels, hoping for a sub 4, but that might be a pie in the sky at my age. Thanks for keeping me motivated with your brilliant podcast. Wow. I mean, sub 4, that's incredible. And I am sure you can do it. And that'll be a brilliant PB after the year before.
I think absolutely go for it.
Yeah.
So listen to Sophie Raworth if you need any inspiration about running over 50, because she is also doing London this year, but just still smashing it, obviously. I ran with her yesterday and nailing her training.
I fully believe age is a number. Like, don't even think about that part of it. You could absolutely get better at that age.
Yeah, so absolutely go for it. And great to hear that Velo Forte is helping you on your fueling. Okay, so Gemma is also doing London Marathon, and this is such a cool story. Been doing most of her training with her friend Kate, who is visually impaired. So Gemma is a guide runner, which has been an incredible experience for her, but I imagine an even more incredible experience for Kate, who has been doing all her training thanks to Gemma. So Kate is doing the virtual London Marathon at midnight before London Marathon, backwards. So she's going to finish at the start line as Gemma sets off, which will be such an amazing moment for them both. And I mean, gosh, Gemma, what an amazing marathon you're going to have, like with that boost at the start. That's an amazing story.
That would be really cool. I really hope that Kate and Gemma bump into each other before Gemma starts the official London Marathon.
Yes.
That'll be, like you say, such a boost.
So special. And I hope you just both have fantastic races, because it's amazing, both of you, what you're doing. I think that's such a lovely story, and just like how much running can do.
Yeah,
Really brought two people together who have never met, both really enriched their lives, and good on you two.
I know, it's
fantastic.
Brilliant. And I just think all of those stories, do you know what? It gives some perspective with running as well, because I think for the two of us, we can get quite caught up in our own, just as anyone would, like selfishly your own journey. But actually, it's so special to hear just all the reasons people love to run, and actually what's really important as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's such a good message for anyone, to be honest, running the marathon. And we all get so fixated on times. Whether you're in the elites or going for like sub 4, it can feel like, oh my God, what if I've missed a session? Am I going to get my sub 4? Just think about it in the grand scheme of things, and why you're doing it, and what you actually want to get out of the day. Like, if it's an amazing experience and you can walk away with like the best memories from it, that's such a big win.
Yeah, 100%. Just enjoy it and smile.
What a way to end the London Marathon special. I love that. So next time we chat, it'll be scarily close to race day.
And we'll be catching up with you in America soon as well, which will be exciting.
Yes. But for now, thanks very much to all our listeners for sending in amazing questions and stories, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy.